We fight so hard for women's rights, children's rights, even digital rights. But the moment someone turns 60, we act as if those rights disappear. Imagine this. One day, your parents will rely on a system that doesn't see them, and one day, that will be you. That's why I'm honored to be joined by my guest, Dr. Chitra Massey, who has spent over 2 decades working with the UN Human Rights Office and other NGOs all over the globe, from Afghanistan and Iraq to Nepal and the Pacific. And now she's leading the work on the older person's right at the UN headquarters in Geneva. And what a better person to explain to us why older person's right matter to all of us. Chitra, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here today with you.
Thank you for your work and what you are doing for older persons right around the globe. I was obviously preparing for this podcast, and I couldn't stop coming across all these shocking stats about older persons. And from what I see, these are not issues that happen to someone else. It's actually happening to our parents and grandparents. From 1 in 6 people aged 60 and above are experiencing abuse, and that abuse is psychological, financial, physical, neglect, and the health system and education. It goes on. What are elderly rights?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for taking up what is an extremely critical and important topic and must be so for all of us in every corner of the globe. We are facing an unprecedented demographic shift. You've already presented some very shocking statistics that show us the enormity of the problem that exists. I just want to add to that to please remember that by the time we are 2030, to the time we are in year 2050, this population of people over the age of 65 will have almost tripled. We are looking at a population of over 20% of the globe that will actually be over the age of 65.
Which is a good thing. Basically means medicine and science is doing its job, because average age was 3,500 to 200 years ago.
Well, that's very, very true, Dr. Sia, that longevity and good health is one of the significant achievements of our generation or our decade, if you would like to say it. We have made significant scientific advances in technology, in understanding many issues. We are able to produce more food. We're able to ensure medicine to counter diseases that a few years ago were considered incurable. So we have a lot of progress and achievements to be proud of. But on the other hand, we also have to remember that what we are seeing right now is quite indicative of some of the challenges that are only going to intensify in the years ahead. So, for example, you mentioned 1 in 6 adults is experiencing, or their real life experience is that of violence, of abuse, and of neglect.
Yeah.
And that ranges from a variety of experiences and thematic areas. It can range from cyber fraud to actually being abused physically within your own home or in an institution, being denied medical care on the basis of your age, or being treated with discrimination. We also know that 1 in 2 persons in the world is ageist.
Yes. Explain, what does ageist mean?
It's when we discriminate or we have a certain concept or a stereotype in our head about age and what somebody of a specific age can do or achieve. That is ageism. We have a formal definition, and I'm sure that you're going to point it out.
Definitely. That basically means half of the world are ageist.
That is correct. And sometimes that is that we are consciously ageist, and sometimes we are unconsciously ageist.
So you're talking about elderly. Can you give us 1 or 2 examples that how it may look like, so the viewers can relate, from going to doctor or applying for a job? Or
Individuals over the age of 60 and 65 conducted a meeting and made the bid and said that the use of the word elderly denotes frailty.
oh,
And so the word, because our language is very important
okay.
in the way that we communicate about people who are older than us is very important. So my appeal to everybody would be is that the agreed terminology means older persons.
Older person.
So we use the phrase older persons, and then I want to comment on the fact that very often we use certain words, certain languages, certain jokes, certain phrases when we talk about older persons. Now, these are things we need to be conscious about, but these are also things that are often internalized by older people themselves. So they themselves start discriminating without realizing that they are using the same stereotype that are hurting them emotionally and physically, that they are doing it to themselves as well. So we equally owe it to everybody to make sure that we are conscious of the way we're addressing them.
Basically, being you're old, you're weak, you're old, you can't learn new things, and that internalizing thing. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes. So, for example, if you're an older person, you need to be aware of the fact that your rights do not have an expiry date.
Okay.
The same rights that you were born with are yours, and you are entitled to them, be it equal, meaningful participation in decision making about you, about your right to decide how you want to spend your money, your right to decide if you want to have a friend circle, if you want to have a romantic relationship, if you want to have a specific medical procedure done. If you don't want to do it done, that's also your choice. And it's important for the people who are supporting them also to realize that when the person has the capacity and the capability to respect it. This is one very simple example of where the lines are blurred and where certain violations happen.
Yeah.
Of course, we have also seen increasingly violations around the issues of cyber fraud. We have seen that
You see it online, TikTok, all the time. They show examples.
absolutely. So very often older people, because of their trust in certain individuals, may even hand over their ATM cards with the password to somebody they trust and find that actually they didn't even realize their savings have been taken away. But equally, there is also the information being collected online that allows them to be impacted by cybercrime and fraudulent swindlers online.
Yes, of course.
So this is also something that is happening very frequently. But also, Dr. Sia, I'm sure that as a medical doctor yourself, you may have seen some of your colleagues or experienced this happening around you, that the way we view older patients is very different from the way we may view and treat someone who is younger.
Definitely. I mean, I have had patients that usually when they come with like a knee pain or a back pain, you tell them it's old age, get over it, get used to it. And then when a younger person had the same problem, I spend like doing x-rays, examination and stuff. So yeah, that's for sure. And another example that pops up in my mind, I had a patient who was in his 80s and he had a sexual health problem. He had erectile dysfunction. And when he complained about it, and I was shocked, I'm like, you are 80, you must be grateful you're still breathing, walking around. But I didn't know this until I had one of my guests was a urologist in the previous episode, and he said that erectile dysfunction is a symptom of another disease. So if you're healthy, you shouldn't have erectile dysfunction, even if you are 70, 80 or older, which makes me think that my ageist attitude stopped me from giving that person the care that he deserved. And this is an innocent example, but I'm sure we're going to go through scenarios uh, after these few questions. And you see the things that are relatable to everyone. Like you take your grandpa's keys because you don't want him to drive for the safety. Is it for the safety or is it you violating their rights? You mentioned lots of examples like the right to choose medical procedure. A lot of elderly are not given the choice to having to go through medical procedures because of their age. So, but yeah, we will definitely go through some of these things and ask your opinion on them. Before we talk about their rights, what are the human rights that we have?
So let me begin by asking you a question to answer your question. So this morning, when you woke up, did you wake up in a house?
I did.
Was the house nice, warm and snug and comfortable?
It was.
Did you have an alarm clock or a radio clock waking you up?
Always.
Did you put out your hand and at the flick of a finger you had electricity, internet, you had a television, you were able to walk into your bathroom and get water from the tap to
Clean water.
clean water? So by the time you reach breakfast, you have already enjoyed a number of basic fundamental human rights.
Really?
Your right to adequate standard of living, your right to safe, adequate housing, safe drinking water, your right to development, your right to dignity, your right to food, which all contributes to your right to health, your right to an adequate standard of living, and your right to equal opportunities. They are all interlinked. Human rights are all interlinked, interdependent, indivisible, and universal. Every single person in the world has human rights merely because we are all human beings. These are all our human rights. Now, you and I were talking just a little while ago, and I have to say we both are in agreement on this. And a lot has been said. Many people refer to human rights as the DNA of the United Nations system because the United Nations, through its very origins, are based on the fact that we did not want a repeat of what we saw during the Second World War. It was a deliberate attempt and collective effort by people from all over the world to ensure a world of equality, a world of justice, and a world of dignity, a life of dignity for everyone. My favorite adjective to describe human rights in one word is dignity. But I would like to go back to our conversation and share with the viewers here that in many ways human rights are like oxygen. We tend not to think about oxygen when we breathe. But the minute the level of oxygen around us drops, we find ourselves struggling.
I also read another place that kids as early as 4-year-old, they are starting to believe in these stereotypes, that is ageism that's happening.
It brings us back to the fact that, okay, let's all put this aside for the moment. We all know that children are like sponges and they learn from the people that they are surrounded by. So this is a true fact and we all know it and accept it, right? What are children seeing around themselves? Are they seeing respect? Are they seeing an understanding that their older grandparent or relative in the house is treated with respect and dignity? Are there decisions? Are they participating in decision making? Is that elder person at home being asked for what they want to do with something that is important for them? These are all may sound like small casual conversations in a family environment, but this is where you're setting up a mindset for a child of the age of 4 or 5 in terms of how they are going to treat somebody who is much older than them, in terms of their acceptance and respect for the legal capacity and abilities of the older person.
Basically, from what I understand, this ageism can lead to elderly's human rights being compromised.
That is correct. And we are finding that one of the most significantly contributing factors to the violence, abuse, and neglect that we are seeing is arising from this ageist attitude. And this ageist attitude can also be seen in the fact that, for example, when a government is collecting data, and as we all know, policies that can defend, support, and improve the effective enjoyment of rights of any individual or human being anywhere in the world depends to a great deal and extent on what is the policy and legislation in place within their national context or setting. So if your government is collecting data, are they collecting data that ensures a disaggregated age-based understanding of what is the lived experience, need, or requirement of somebody? So let me give you another example. If you're a woman and you have crossed 50, it is going to be extremely rare to find that the government or the data that has been collected is actually looking at the needs and rights of women over the age of 50 and saying, okay, if you're 50 and you have this intersectionality with disability or with poverty or with a need for long-term care or a need for, no need for it, in fact, but your needs might be different because, as we know, aging is not homogeneous.
Yeah.
How
Not
does
everybody, basically, not everybody goes through it the same way.
same way and at the same pace and with the same intensity. So how is the data that is being collected by the government, your government, actually reflective and mirroring your real needs?
So if that also basically explains why there are so much data on women around their reproductive age, and once they go above 50, when menopause starts, there is absolutely no data, or there are very few data. I guess a proof. Once I made a video on menopause, and it got millions of views. And what the shocking part was that most women in menopause didn't know what the symptoms are. They didn't know that there are treatment options, that you don't have to suffer through hot flashes or brain fog or whatever other symptoms that are there. And it was shocking. Why, when pregnancy, everybody knows about fertility, ages, how to get pregnant, what foods you must eat or not eat, or what complication of pregnancy. But once you reach menopause, there is absolutely very few information out there. Why we see getting old as a disease. And this is becoming more evident to me because everything online is about preserving the youth. You mustn't look old. You must make sure your skin stays youthful forever, as if getting old is a disease. Why do you think we're going there?
I think you've put your finger on the pulse over there, because our concept and our behavior globally looks at aging with fear, denial. And somehow over the years, and this is why we have so much ageist attitudes all over,
True.
is that age equals decline. And this is one of the things we must challenge, because age is not necessarily about decline only.
Not weakness, not frailty.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're very right. Age can be a moment of significantly giving back to society. It can be a time of great joy. It can be a time of great creativity. It can be a time of great.
It's basically a new chapter of life,
Absolutely right. You said it.
and a
It is.
powerful one.
It can be a very powerful and a very joyful time of your life. Equally, it can also be a time of great worry, as we are seeing now, as per the lived experiences of people. A time where people are fearful of aging. Why? And I think this is something we must work towards, because if more than 20% of the population of the world is going to be here, what are we doing as an entire world, as a globe, international community, to make sure that we don't have so many people who are suffering, but in fact we are able to ensure that this is going to be a time of a step in the right direction into yet another part of your life.
But another factor that affects this ageist mentality that we have, I can think of movies. In movies, every hero is a young, powerful person, basically saying, if you're old, yeah, you cannot be a hero. You're old, you're weak and frail. What do you say about that?
Well, I think that culture reflects reality around it, but equally, I believe that art, cinema, literature also is a very powerful tool to influence that culture and real life experience. So it's a two-way street, where you can have that art and cinema, for example, is reflecting what is real life around them and is learning from real life. But equally, cinema, theater, books, TV shows can also influence in a positive manner what can be a much better world. How can it be a better world? So my point here is, why is it, like you said, that every movie shows the most powerful character as a young, dynamic male, for example? So then here it is, one of my favorite books in the last few years, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I discovered the book, The Thursday Murder Club, and I'm very delighted. There is the new movie out on Netflix, and the entire group of main characters in this are all older people in a retirement home. I'm not like endorsing the movie or saying
Okay.
everybody go and watch it. I'm just saying here's an example where people over the age of 65 are playing a powerful role. And my appeal would be to Hollywood and to Bollywood and to all of the other film industries and artists. Why are we not giving our younger generations a much stronger understanding and respect and acceptance of aging than we
Yeah.
are doing right now? So let's look at this. Let's look at one of the most popular movies, um, franchises, James Bond.
Yeah.
M played by Judi Dench in her 80s. How many times do we have an older woman in that kind of a role?
Can't think of any.
I'm just saying that I think we should have more of this happening.
Yeah.
And this is something we've been talking about within my team and in my office. And we actually reached out to a few donors,
Really?
asking them that we'd actually like to set it up and have this dialogue between the creative world and the depiction of older persons. This is something we've been working on for about 7-8 months to make it happen. And we are hoping that in 2026, with the support of our donors, we will be able to make it happen. But I think it's a very, very important point because art, literature, theater, cinema, all of these have, and TV shows, have a very powerful influence on our society.
Listening to you, and knowing that half of the world are ageist, whether knowingly or unknowingly, I feel like just having these conversations and raising awareness, knowing that what you are doing indirectly violating your parents or grandparents' rights, it's I feel like the more people do such things, and we're going to talk about social media also in the next few questions, and how that is changing stereotypes. So we are not there, but we're taking the right steps, right?
I believe so. I think that even within the last 2 years, I see a more,
Okay.
some more awareness about it. And we in the UN Human Rights Office are certainly trying our best to push this and raise awareness on this issue. So, for example, we have two very small initiatives that we hope are going to have significant impact. We have a newsletter that we bring out called #Agency and Dignity. And of course, there is a very powerful meaning behind that name of why #Agency
Okay.
and Dignity. And of course, we can talk about it another
Can
time.
anyone join this newsletter?
Absolutely. There's a code, and I will be very happy
Okay,
to.
I'll put it down in the description so people can join. Okay.
Well, thank you. And they can sign up and receive copies of this newsletter. We also have launched a webinar series with experts from all over the world with different areas of expertise. Because remember, aging is very unique, but aging is also very intersectional. Aging impacts every single person on the face of this globe. It is something that every single person, if they are lucky, will experience and live through. So this is not something that you should feel is not for you, because if you're lucky and privileged, you will enjoy your old age.
Yeah, you blink and then it's like you're 50 and 60 years old. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Moving to gender inequality, I saw also another stat. Sorry, guys, I've been just researching stats recently, and it said that women have less legal rights than men. And just to remind everyone, we are in 2025. It's not like 1967. Why we still have this problem?
It's very much driven by certain drivers, and the drivers include power dynamics, unequal power dynamics. It also looks at a lack of political participation and voice. It's linked to many different issues. But if I step back for a minute and I just say, let's look at a child that has just been born. She's a girl. She's been born in a low middle class, lower income family. She reaches the age of 3. She reaches the age of 4. What are the nutritional, medical, and educational choices available to a child in that setting? Now, let's assume that she's been lucky and she has parents who are working very hard and are able to provide her with the basics. Okay. But there is a big difference between the life of this child and a child who may be born in a much more entitled, affluent society and family. Now, if you follow her life course, there will be many opportunities which may be missed by her. There may be many challenges that are far greater for her because of her socio-economic indicators. But let's just look at one simple thing. Does this 4-year-old have access to quality education or not? And that entire life course and her life and the choices that are made available to her and the quality of her life when she reaches that age of 65 or 75 are going to be impacted
From
positively or negatively by
Okay.
that one single right so significantly that whether she is able to work in the formal sector, whether she is educated and working in a place where she's able to make savings, where she's able to gain medical access,
equal pay.
or equal pay, the gender
Yeah.
gap still continues in 2025. Is she in a position to own property? So we find that in a survey conducted in 53 countries, 71% of older women do not own land or property.
Wow. So what happens when they above 65?
So what happens is this: they are then at the mercy of their families. Let's look at this way. If a woman is widowed, which is quite often the case because women tend to live longer than men.
Yeah.
So if you have a woman who does not own any property, does not own any, let's say, does not own a house, or the house that she's been living in all her life, the house now belongs to a family member. If she does not have any pension or a social network that provides her some funding or resources, she's entirely at the beck and call of the family that is supporting her. So you will find more and more older women are more vulnerable to abuse and violence and neglect. You may find that they are providing unpaid, unrecognized care for family members at home. They may be helping in the cooking, in the cleaning, or looking after the children.
Yeah.
And there is no remuneration or recognition of the fact that they are contributing to the economy of the society as a whole, but also for the specific family conditions.
You mentioned pension, and I also read that many countries women don't get pension, which also contribute to this whole problem.
That is correct. There is no universal social pension available globally. There are women who have worked in the formal sector who may have access to and benefit from pensions, or may have, some may have received the pension of their spouses that they have, but then also there is the question of how much access and control do they have over that resource. So here there is a very good example from a small country that is not yet developed, but I think deserves mention. For example, in Nepal, there is a good initiative that has been started by the government. It provides a sum of money which is precisely to look after and ensure an adequate amount of funds for basic living conditions, for food, for medication, to the older persons. But what is important and impressive about this endeavor is that the government of Nepal is also making available a small sum of money to the caretaker, so that there is an added incentive to protect and promote the right of
Nepal. Well done.
This is one example, but there are many other examples where many countries are coming together and recognizing some of these challenges and putting together programs that are beneficial and helpful. But we have a long way to go before we can say this is adequate.
Definitely. And ageism is not just like hurts your feeling, it reduces your lifespan. I read somewhere that ageism can reduce your lifespan by 7.5 years. Your thoughts?
Well, Dr. Sia, you're the medical doctor, and I know you have the answers to that, but nonetheless, I'll take you up on this. So let's look at this way.
Okay.
I'm an older person. I've had a life what I believe has been valuable. I have been respected. I have contributed to society, to the company I've been working with, and then I retire. I retire, I'm home, and all of a sudden somebody views me differently. All of a sudden I am considered incapable of making decisions on my behalf. My views are not necessarily appreciated, recognized, or given that space. It can range from something as simple as, where should we go for a holiday, to what should we do with this amount of money, or what should we do with regard to something that has significant implications for me
Yep.
in my life. Well, let's say my mobility, my reduced mobility. What are we going to do with this? Am I going to be put in a old people's home because it's too hard for my children or my relatives to look after me? Or are they just going to hire a caretaker and say, you're responsible for looking after her, and the rest we are going to be off on our holiday? All of this is going to have an impact on me. It may be that I feel hurt. It may be that I internalize the hurt and I start withdrawing. I start engaging less. If my friends have passed on or are facing similar problems, my social interactions will become limited. I'm getting more and more
Oh,
isolated. I'm beginning to feel upset and hurt, and maybe I begin to doubt myself now. So slowly, my decline will be stronger and faster. And if the trauma that I suffer is amplified or compounded by other factors, lo and behold, you may find that I'm one of those people who dies much
earlier.
earlier than I should have.
And to add to that, when you go see a doctor for your problems, they'll be like, that's old age. That's why it delays your health and whatever. And
But sometimes you may find that it's not only your doctor who says it to you, it may even be your family members when you tell them, oh, there's something is wrong with me, I don't feel good. And they'll say, but Papa, you are 85 years old. What are you complaining about?
you should be happy alive, basically. Yeah,
Well,
that's what,
maybe they
and
might not say you should be happy
no,
or
I
alive,
know,
but
but
they'll mean that.
I know
But
what you
this is
mean.
what
Yeah.
they'll mean. And so I think that there are many things that contribute to this. And while we're talking about this, if you are female, whether you have your own source of income, if you're a female with disability, if you're from a specific religious or ethnic group, all of these different challenges get compounded in old age.
Oh. And something you mentioned, you're going to have less friends and if they're passing away and loneliness at the older age. There was a study that came a few years ago talking about what factors affect your longevity. And number one wasn't not smoking, wasn't not alcohol, wasn't exercise, was number of relationships you have. So basically, if you have more relationships, more friends, you're in touch with more people, is an indicator of like the fact that you can live longer. So I assume once you get older and you're isolated, your kids are not living separately. I mean, not visiting you. All those things contributes to that 7.5, I assume, right?
Absolutely. And actually, uh, I was looking at a documentary on dementia, and I find that one of the ways of delaying dementia or memory loss or similar health issues is that social engagement and learning something new. And so, this is why many countries are also now putting together places for older people to get together. And here I'd like to mention the Ehsan Centers of Qatar that originally started with a space for people with disabilities, but then slowly and very smoothly, they have become a center for intergenerational equity and exchange. And I would like to mention them because the social summit is going to be held in Qatar.
Oh, okay.
And so I would like to encourage people to think about this, to see what can be done and what can we learn from them. Equally, Canada has a very interesting initiative where they bring together older people in the neighborhood. And if you look at our newsletter of this issue, we've highlighted that as an example. Then you have in Uganda, there's a club and bringing together of people to do physical activities together. So more and more countries are creating those spaces in public areas where older people can come together. Now, on this point, I also want to say that We are also seeing, of course, an increase in the number of institutions, residential care homes all over the world that are there to take care of older people. And many people are coming there voluntary, but many people are also being forced to come in there. So I think that's also an area we need to really look at and consider. Now, in my experience so far, it has been that most people, as they grow older, prefer to be in their own homes. This is their comfort zone. This is the place where they have lived in. The challenge before us is, what can we do to ensure that if an older person in our circle of life desires and wishes to live independent life, how can we assist them? Where do we come in with the human touch? And where do we come in with assistive technology? And there was an interesting initiative taken by the Permanent Mission of China in Geneva, for example, where they did an exhibition on assistive technology and how it can help people. And of course, I'm mentioning a few countries here and there but there are many initiatives happening in many different parts of the world.
Okay, so now we're going to go to some scenarios, and you tell me, is this discrimination or is it the protection? Just brief comment. An older person gets passed over for promotion to make space for younger blood.
I think it's age-based discrimination, because are you able to contribute? Is this merit-based or not? Or is this barely on the basis of age?
Next one. Adult children take away their parents' car key for safety. When does it become protection? When it's discrimination?
Okay. It may not qualify completely as discrimination, but it may be coming from the arising. It's one of those gray areas where it depends also on the driving skills of the driver in question and their vision and their medical conditions. So, for example, over here, I'd like to just share that Switzerland, for example, offers its older citizens a regular medical checkup, which is basically to see, are they still fit and competent for driving? And I
Wow.
know of this because I have a wonderful neighbor who's 83 and is driving around, and she shared it with me that, she went for her checkup. They did her eyesight, they checked her heart, and they checked whether she had any other loss of abilities that might impact her driving. And she received her driving license for the next year. And so there you have it.
That's fair. That's, to make sure they are safe and not discriminating against their rights. Next one. A family puts the grandmother in nursing home against her will because it's easier. Is it a discrimination or protection?
I think that here there's been a blatant disregard of the desire of the older person. Is that grandmother in a position to express herself, make her choices? Does she have access to resources that allow her to say that she can live independently on her own? Is she duty bound to live with the family, and the family considers her a burden? And this is why they are putting her against her wishes in an older person's home. So it's not a black and white scenario. One has to look into this. And of course, I'm also cognizant, and I do accept the fact that sometimes individuals may require a significant amount of care.
Yes.
So the question is, does this grandmother require specialized care? Is that care going to be provided for in the home? And of course, for the family in question, because not everything is black and white in life, is it the right balance between finding the care, respecting the wishes of the individual in question, being addressed over here or not?
Okay. Next scenario. A 75-year-old wants to date a new person and the family is embarrassed about it. So they're trying to stop it. Is this a discrimination or saving the family from embarrassment, if I can call that?
Well, I think that this is definitely not uh, acceptable, because I'm sorry, but just because you turn 60, it doesn't mean that you have no desire for companionship or sexual relations.
True.
As a human being, you're entitled to it. It's as long as it's consensual between two adults. If they want a relationship, why not? This again is societal pressure that because you've crossed a certain age, you must not feel certain emotions. And I'm sorry, like human rights doesn't expire
Yeah.
at a certain age, neither does this. And I'm sure that you have in your specialized field also had this experience. And if I remember correctly, you mentioned, for example, that Viagra is available on insurance, medical insurance.
Yeah.
What are we making available to women or, older adults is would be one question. The other question is that why, if you as a 17-year-old or a 35-year-old or a 55-year-old is entitled to go about and find companionship and a romantic relationship, why is it considered wrong for a 75-year-old?
We have two, three more scenarios. This one, that's the one excites me because I'm on TikTok. Something called grandfluencers on TikTok. They're going viral. They have 70, 80, 90-year-old who are joining TikTok. And I read a stat this morning saying older persons are the biggest or the fastest growing group on TikTok now. So they are fighting a stereotype, and I feel like their videos are getting viral because the new generation is like, old people can be fun, old people can do this, old people can do that. So they are proving that they can, and they are helping fight this ageism. What's your opinion, thoughts?
I love it. I love it. We do know that there is a digital gap, and we know that that is a big gap and we have to do more. But at the same time, I love this new emerging trend for a number of reasons because A, they're challenging the stereotype.
Yeah.
And they're challenging the stereotype not only by saying, here's a medium or a platform that you believe we are incapable of mastering. We are mastering it and we are acing it completely. That's that. But then also the topics they are bringing on board. You have older fashion divas
Exactly, yes.
showing and saying, oh, this is what fashion can look like at our age and this is what you can do.
There's a bodybuilder, there's a
Yes.
female bodybuilder in the 70s can do more push-ups and pull-ups than...
So they are also challenging a number of the stereotypes around ageism.
Yes.
So I think that this is great, and I think that we should encourage it, and we should actually use that as an opportunity to say, similar to what BMW and NASA have been doing, that we should encourage more of the different institutions, industries to actually have an open mind to older persons and their capacity to contribute.
So basically, are these companies bringing older persons that retired back to help the younger ones?
In some scenarios, yes, but I mentioned BMW and NASA specifically because, for example, in NASA, they're taking a phased approach to retirement. So, in the time that you are getting ready for your retirement, you are doing more engagement with younger people, and kind of there's being this intergenerational equity solidarity process happening with the objective of ensuring that younger generations who are growing up with a completely new technology and a way of scientific study are benefiting from the previous generation that have worked perhaps with less advanced technology, but they can pass on the skills so that we don't lose the skills and the knowledge. So there's a little bit of a different few things happening there, but it is encouraging a respect and an understanding of what the previous generation has been capable of and why it is significant and important to learn from them. So in many ways contributing to a greater respect for the capacities and abilities. In BMW, I think has actually made a significant amount of effort, like changing the structures on platforms on where workers have been working so that older workers can continue to work alongside younger workers and yet not for example, non-slip technologies so that they are not at harm's risk, allowing them to work longer. There are many such examples, but we could discuss this in more detail if you like. But both BMW and NASA, I think, have been leading in this area. I'm also aware that there have been certain initiatives in the global south, for example, where people who worked in banks or in universities are being given more opportunities to come back for 2 days a week, 3 days a week,
I see.
and engage and
Yeah.
contribute, and actually people can do so much more.
Like 20%. I've seen some companies offer like to the retired one, 20% of your time you can come and work, which is great. for people who wish to continue, because retirement, I feel like people advertise retirement as a perk, like it's positive, you're gonna retire early, but great, but what if you want to continue working? As you mentioned earlier, it must be a choice.
It must be a choice. That's right. And there are also certain countries that are extending the date of retirement. So should you wish to continue for longer, you have that option.
Amazing. Before we go to the next two health scenarios, I want to mention on TikTok, there's also another trend where they show like the person show their father or grandfather's past pictures or videos. And it's also going viral because some of them were bodybuilders in the past, some of them were models. And you see this elderly and you're like, you cannot imagine. They probably think life was boring in the past. We didn't have models, we didn't do exercise or do fun things. And I feel like this is slowly, even if it's a entertainment video, unconsciously can change your opinion about old age. And yes, you are old, you can still do fun things, or you were a fun person before. That's why if there's an older person, talk to them, chat to them. They are like a survival manual to wisdom. No?
To me, they're a bridge. They're a bridge that allows younger people to connect with the past, but also allows younger people to walk together and learn and exchange views and ideas to the benefit of both generations.
Exactly. Great. The last scenario is when you have an elderly patient and somebody in the 30s with the same condition, but you spend 2 minutes with the elderly, blaming it on old age, nothing else I can do, and then you spend more time with the younger one. Ageism, right?
Ageism in its truest form, because as we saw during the time of COVID, people felt that they have lived their life and have nothing left to contribute. So if we have to make a choice between who gets a ventilator or who gets the medical attention, is based on age. There's a very interesting video of a little child. I think it's on TikTok. I saw it on Facebook, actually.
Okay.
It's a little boy who is very cute and is asking his mother, Mummy, if you were driving and there is an old man crossing the road and there is a baby crawling on the road, who would you hit?
Okay.
And the mother thinks about it and answers the old man. And the 5-year-old kid screams and says, Mommy, why? He says, because the old man has lived his life already and the baby hasn't. And the kid looks at her in amazement and says, but Mommy, why would you not just hit the brake?
Ageism.
So for me, that was a very interesting video to watch, and I watched it over and over again. It was done sort of with a comic sense of it, but I think it's very telling.
It's subconscious ageism that we all have. What if that older person still has another 30 years to live? What if they are capable? As you mentioned, your father at 88 was capable, doing everything, independent.
Absolutely.
And
Totally in control.
And then you had the experience when you went to the hospital.
When we took him to the hospital, my siblings and I, the reaction from most of the doctors was like, he's old. I mean, why do you want to even put him through any other medical treatment or procedures?
My colleagues, doctors, nurses, ageism. It is. It's subconscious to us. That's how, even as you were right, during COVID, if you're above certain age, I'm sorry, there's no ventilators for you because it's reserved for younger ones.
Yeah.
Even if they were like, I think above 50 with chronic conditions, above 60 with certain conditions. But hopefully in future things will be different.
We hope it will be a more fairer world, just world.
More just world. Yes, that's the word, just word. Just word. Now we're going to go through some myths and I want your reaction on them. Old people can't learn new technology.
Myth.
They can.
Absolutely. We've just discussed the grand influencers.
Yes.
I think they've established that beyond any doubt that older people are capable of learning.
So you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's just a sentence that's...
It's just a fantasy.
Okay. Thank you. To the point. Depression is normal when you're old.
It's definitely a myth. Depression is not normal in any age.
True. So it's all the other factors can contribute to maybe elderly getting into depression, being isolated, loneliness. Okay. Older people don't have sex or romantic relationships.
Incorrect. I think older people are much more caring and appreciative and respectful of relationships because they've learned to value the human relationships, and they certainly are deserving of and have an equal right to have friends, companionship, romantic, and sexual relations.
Okay, great. Quick few myths debunked. I'm sure we debunked many more myths throughout this whole conversation. We're getting to the final part. So if you could change one thing about how we view ageism, what would it be?
I'll give you two for the price of one.
Okay, bring it.
So, my first point that I would love to change, and I wish I had a magic wand for it. My first point would be I would like to change that equation that ageism, age equals decline. I
Yes.
want that to change.
It's not decline, not weakness.
It's not decline, it's not weakness. Age equals a new chapter in your life, a chapter of enjoyment, respect, joy, pleasure, whatever you want it to be.
So age is just a number.
That's what you said. My second point is in the changes I would like to see, I would like to see the collection of data all over the world by governments to disaggregate around age and gender and actually develop policies that allow us to respond and improve the lived realities and experiences of older people everywhere.
Okay, that's to governments and us. We can always raise awareness, support.
Absolutely, because we all have a say in the way our governments function.
Of course, of course. So, what's one question every person should be asking the elderly in the house, their uncles, parents, grandparents?
What would you like? And the question when they are asking this and before they respond to the answer from the older person, I would like them to remember in their own heads, how would you like to be treated if the situation was reversed? If your older relative is asking you this question and you are the older relative, how would you respond to their response?
Put yourself in their shoe, basically.
Put yourself in their shoes, yes.
And see if
because it's very important, in my opinion, that young people, middle-aged people, whoever you are in that on the timeline, you see the way you are dealing with older persons, the way you are demanding that your governments and your societies function and respond to older persons, and the provisions you demand and put in place are an investment in your own future.
True.
It's an investment if you put it together very appropriately and very comprehensively with a far-reaching vision, you are the one who will benefit from that dividend, and the profit in the end will be yours.
Okay. So what younger generation can do today to make it a better future for older persons' rights?
Like I said, if younger people today think about the challenges we face, the triple planetary crisis we face today. There's climate change, there's increasing inequality, there's a pushback a lot on human rights. If young people all over the world today continue to grow stronger in their voice, in their understanding, and they work to a world of non-discrimination and equality, they are going to find that by the time they reach that age, they are the ones who's going to benefit the most out of it.
So basically, younger generation shouldn't think for older persons' right as other people. It's your own rights in the future.
It's your own rights in the future, but at the same time, I think that the younger people are the most important foot soldiers to ensure the rights of the older generation today.
So, Chitra, as we're having these conversations, I've written down a few things that anyone with elder persons can do, including myself. This is to you guys, people who have their parents and grandparents still there. Make sure to call them because they're not going to be there with you forever. Record their voice, their laugh, their advice. It's going to be priceless one day. Sit with them, even if it's just in silence. Give them the dignity of choice. Let them decide. Don't decide for them. Include them in everyday things like if you go for a walk, for dinner. They crave belonging, like not just care. So pick up that phone, speak to your parents, grandparents, and make these plans. Chitra, it's been an honor having you in this podcast. Thank you for the amazing and great work that you and your team are doing, and for all the insight and education. I feel I mean, I do feel like a different person, and I look at things completely different. And I'm gonna add fighting ageism as one of my responsibilities as a social media and content creator. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please make sure to put it in the comment sections. I'll get hold of you, Chitra, and we'll make sure you answer them. And I'm also putting links and resources to human rights and any other documents we spoke about in this session. Thank you.
Thank you.